Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show. This story is about second chances. I believe in second chances. How could I not? But what if your second chance leads to somebody else's pain? Do you think that you still deserve that? Shouldn't a person's second chance be one that includes not causing pain to somebody else? You know, I know a lot of people that have gotten out of prison, personally know these individuals that have gotten out of prison and said that they wanted to just leave all of this behind. They didn't want to see or hear or talk about anything related to prison ever again. And I could truly understand what they were saying when I was involved in conversations with them. I didn't agree with all of it, but I could understand it, because being in here and living that criminal lifestyle, when you're done with it, man, you're done. And it's painful to revisit that, because it's hard to face that animal, that monster that you were. You don't want to face it. And a lot of people don't want to face any parts of it, you know? And this story is about this guy that I talked to. I used to kick it with. He's out and he's gone on with his life and hasn't been back yet. Hadn't been back to prison at all, right? And his name is Ryan. We're going to call him Ryan anyway. Ryan was a drug dealer. I'm talking about a very successful drug dealer. I mean, he was posted up in several different states. Him and a couple of friends that he grew up with. I mean, these guys were getting paper. You feel what I'm saying? But see, as a drug dealer, you know, you got to wear two faces. The face that you present to your family, the people that you love or claim to love, and the face that you present to your customers and anybody else that you encounter on your journey. Two faces. And Ryan, like a lot of big dope boys, you know, he had a lot of women in a lot of different places. Everywhere he was posted up at, where he got money, whatever city he was in, he had him, you know, some female in that area for companionship. And companionship involved, you know, sex. And in one of those situations, to the best of his knowledge, he started to feel feelings for the individual. He never expressed that to any of the other ones. So he said it was something special about this person. So it must be, you know, he's starting to fall in love. So he tried to distance himself from her, right? He would avoid her and all this, but he would always find himself going back, wanting to be with her. And she noticed that, you know, something was off here. You know, he'll call and talk to me, and then when he comes to town, he wouldn't want to come over. She was trying to figure out what was going on. And a lot of that was confusing to her, very confusing to her. But she continued to go along with it because she was feeling these feelings for him as well. And that's hard for a person that's trying to build something with somebody that don't necessarily want to be with them, because he has another family. You know, he wasn't married at the time, but he had another life in the town that he grew up in. He was seeing somebody that he had been madly in love with since high school, and she was off in college and doing well for herself and was trying to get him to leave that life alone so he would come on and join her and go to college, because he was very smart. Very, very smart. And he never would do it because he liked the money. But let me tell you something. See, when you're involved in the game, the dope game particularly, right? You know, that money, man, it comes so fast, and the things that come along with the dope game, the notoriety, you know, everybody talking to you like you know, the smartest person in the world, and any issue that they might have. It could be about something you have no knowledge about whatsoever, but because you're able to demonstrate some level of success in what you're doing, they think you gotta be smarter than all the rest of the people that are doing the same things, not realizing that it's just plain dumb luck that you're not in jail, right? It's all. So you get this feeling that you're somebody that you're not, that you're bigger than life, big 10 feet tall. All the ladies love you. You got the best clothes, the best cars. It's never an issue for you when you go out to eat to wonder and concern yourself with what the menu is the prices on the menu, how much the cars cost, and all of this kind of stuff. You never have to worry about that, but you got thousands and thousands of dollars coming in every day. So much money that you can't really even spend it fast enough. You can't. So you start to believe that you are this bigger than life person. You start to believe that you don't have to be respectful of other people's feelings. You start to believe that what other people want from you, if it's not best for you, it doesn't matter what they want. It doesn't matter how they feel. You want what you want, and that's it. So this female that Ryan had in this other area, she started calling him out on his nonsense, calling him out on his bull crap, right? And one night he was in one of those sober moments, right? And when I say sober moments, I don't mean to imply that he got high or anything like that, because he didn't. I'm talking about one of those sober moments mentally where, he feels like, I'm going to be honest about what I really feel. And he told her that he loved her. He said, but the situation that he found himself in, he couldn't just leave, his girlfriend, somebody that he loved as well. You know what I mean? And that night, they made love. And it was special for the both of them. And lo and behold, as it always does, in most situations, he spent the whole weekend with her. And she got pregnant. Yes, you heard me right. Old girl got pregnant. And he panicked when she told him that she was pregnant. And he wanted her to, take care of it, as they say. Give her the money, all this and that. She said, I don't want your money. I don't want your money. And if you don't want to be with me, I'm going to raise this child by myself. I'm going to do all of this by myself. So they got to fighting. And let me be clear here. I'm telling the story as it was told to me, because I don't want to leave anything out. I need you to understand fully, the mindset of a person. But this is going to sound messed up, what I'm about to say. They got into a fight, an argument. And when they got into this altercation, he pushed her. And he hit her in her stomach. He knew what he was doing when he did it. He knew what he was doing. And she doubled over in pain. She wasn't even showing at this particular time. You know what I mean? It was just that she had taken one of those home kits and it was positive and all this. And she hadn't even actually been to a doctor to verify, to confirm that this was true. But she felt like it was true because something was wrong. Something was off, and she hadn't even thrown up yet. But when he hit her in the stomach, she doubled over in pain and she blocked and covered up her stomach while she lay on the floor, and he kicked at her and she looked up at him while he was kicking at her, and she saw that he had tears in his eye. She saw the pain on his face while she was laying on the floor suffering from the pain that he was inflicting upon her, and she said, he's trying to kill the baby. He walked out, left her there, hoping that he had inflicted enough pain on her that she wouldn't be able to have this baby. But she was able to get herself together, get up, and she drove herself to the emergency room. She didn't report it. She had bruises and all over her body, and she told him that she had just been in an altercation, but she didn't want to tell anybody, not even the nurses, what had happened. And could they check to see and make sure, because she said she had taken a home pregnancy test. She wanted to know if they could verify if she was actually pregnant or not. So they administered the test that they do in the hospital, and they came back and they told her, you need to go see an OB/GYN because you are in fact pregnant. And she was overjoyed, even though she was laying there in pain, and she cried and she cried. And the nurses, they comforted her and they told her, said, look, whoever this person is, you need to leave him alone. And if you need some help, tell us, because there's things that we can do, people that we could talk to that could get you some help. And she assured them, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be just fine. because she was overjoyed that she was about to, she was pregnant and she was going to be able to have a baby. But at the same time, she was sad because she knew he didn't want to be a part of that. He didn't want to be a part of her life or this child's life. So a week or so later, she had her morning sickness and all this and that. She was into all of it. She was wanting it to happen. She was into all that. It didn't bother her, the morning sicknesses and all this and that, and the weird appetites that early in the game. And he would call her, and she would tell him, talk to him as if nothing had ever happened. And she would tell him that, she's starting to feel something, even though she wasn't. But she knew that this child was inside of her. And whenever she would say these things to her, in his sober moments, he was like, that's good. But when he was in other moods, he was like, you need to take care of it. You're going to mess up things for me. You're going to mess my life up. And she would just sit there and she would listen to him, berate her and talk bad to her and make her feel like she was doing him wrong. But see, she poured all her love, even though the baby hadn't been born yet. She poured all her love into her womb to that baby that she wanted to give to him and the baby, but she poured it all into the baby. And time went on, and she was by herself from time to time. But every now and then he would drop by, wanting to be with her, leave her a little money here and there. He wanted it, but he didn't. He wanted it, but he didn't. And she was being pulled and tugged in all different directions because her heart was with him, but she knew that this wasn't a good thing. This wasn't a good thing. And now things were getting rough for him. Things were getting rough for him because she was getting to that point. She was getting to that point. Months are going by. She's starting to show. Her parents are starting to ask her, who's the daddy? All of these types of things, right? Because they knew about him, but they didn't know about him. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? They knew his name, but they didn't know what he did. They knew he didn't live in the town that they lived in, but they knew that she loved him. But the more they pushed, the more they prodded to find out what's going on with him, the more she pulled away from them because she didn't want to tell her parents, who were very conservative, that wanted to see a ring on her finger. She didn't want to tell them that she was in love with a dope boy. She didn't want them to know that. She felt embarrassed by it. She just thought that if he could see this baby, then things would be right between them. He would come around and they could build a life and a family together, and he would quit all of this nonsense and he would love her. So she never even told anybody other than those nurses when she went to the hospital months and months and months ago that he had beat her, intentionally trying to cause her to have a miscarriage. Yeah, she never told her mother. She most definitely never told her father. They haven't even met him. They didn't even know what he looked like. They didn't even know what he looked like, y'all. But she still loved him. The day came. The day came. It was time. It was time. And she had been staying at her mom's and dad's house because, in case something happened and they needed to get to the hospital real quick, she wanted somebody around because she couldn't depend on him. And her girlfriend, she had her own life, so they couldn't stay with her. You know what I'm saying? So she stayed with her parents, and the day came. They rushed her to the hospital. She was having those contractions. And as the story goes, it took 16 hours. Woo! Oh my goodness. 16 hours. And she gave birth to a beautiful, beautiful baby girl. And she lay there with her dad and her mom by her side. After they cleaned up the baby, she lay there with the baby in her arms, and she was kissing on the baby, loving on the baby, and tears running down her cheeks. And her dad is telling her, you did a good job. And he kissed on the forehead, and he kissed the baby, and he held his granddaughter, for the first time. And, it was just a beautiful moment. And then grandmama, she hold the baby. It's almost like she wanted to run up out of there with the baby because it's like this is her grandchild, her granddaughter. And she was going to protect her, and do everything she could to make her life better. But she was concerned about her daughter, because her daughter hadn't said a word about Ryan. So she asked her, she said, "Are you going to call this child's daddy?" And she said, "Yeah, later on, I will." And her daddy said, "Where is he at?" And if you want to know what she said, you're going to have to tune in, y'all. Y'all know how I do. You're going to have to tune in, because I got something coming right behind this, right? So you can keep this story fresh on your mind. So y'all stay tuned, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.